Okay, Councillor Riley, we are now live.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, I'll just make some chairman's announcements. Welcome to a virtual petition hearing of the London Borough of Hillingdon. This virtual meeting is also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name is Councillor John Riley and I'm the Cabinet Member for Public Safety, Transport, and I am the Chairman of this meeting. A few words about online housekeeping. Before we start, some important online housekeeping for everyone present. Please ensure that any mobile phones around you are on silent. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking and then unmute to speak. Only one person should speak at a time, and I, as chairman, will call on those to speak and keep an eye on the room through my gallery view on those who are indicating. And in terms of technical meeting control, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through or for a period of time or lost connection, I'll continue. Before we move on, I'd like to do a roll call of all those present to confirm attendance. Any ward councillors, and I know that there are all three, please indicate and please also confirm whether you have any declarations of interest. If we go round the room as I see it, if people can just very briefly introduce themselves. So, Mr. Bansal.
Yeah, hi, Sachin Bansal, resident of 140 Nestles Avenue. I've been previously not only doing neighborhood watch, part of the neighborhood watch scheme of Hillingdon, but I also have been street champion for this Nestles Avenue. So,
okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Councillor Gardner.
I'm present, Chair. Councillor Gardner, one of the three Botwell councillors.
Mr. Singh, if you could just identify yourself, please.
Yeah, Bal Singh, 124 Nestles Avenue. I'm regarded as a lead petitioner, if you like. So I've got the email to confirm that the petition has been successful. I can't hear you, Councillor Riley.
Yeah, that's fine. Ryan, can you just identify yourself?
Yes, present, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor, identify yourself, please.
Sorry, Chairman, was that me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm Councillor John Oswell, Botwell Ward Councillor.
Thank you. David, can you identify yourself?
Good evening. My name's David Knowles, and I'm the head of Transport and Town Centre Projects.
Thank you. Steve?
Present, Chairman. I'm Steve Austin, Traffic, Parking, Road Safety and School Travel Team Manager at Hillingdon Council.
Thank you very much. Sophie?
Hi, I'm Sophie Wilmot, Senior Transport Planner at the London Borough of Hillingdon.
Thank you very much. And Liz?
Hello, Chairman. I'm Liz Penny, and I'm from Democratic Services.
Thank you very much. I think that covers everybody who's I can see on the screen.
Chairman, I think you missed Councillor Farley and somebody on the phone as well. The lady on the phone.
Okay, I can't see Councillor Farley, but never mind. Yeah, can you identify yourself, please?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, everybody.
Oh, there you are.
Botwell Councillor, one of the three. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we've got somebody on the phone.
Hello, hi, Mrs. Panissa from 126 Nestles Avenue.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Sorry to miss you two out. All right, so that's everybody that I can see, I think. Good. All right. So the details of the business to be conducted this evening are on the agenda, copies of which are available on YouTube underneath the broadcast. So the first item, and I've skipped over declarations of interest, but I'm assuming nobody's got any because nobody said anything. The business of the meeting will take place in public, and we're here to consider reports of officers in relation to two matters, the first of which is to deal with traffic calming measures on Nestles Avenue in Hayes. So what I will do is to call upon the lead petitioner, Mr. Singh, who has 5 minutes, and then I'll ask the councillors. I think Councillor Oswald's going to speak on behalf of all three. But first of all, Mr. Singh, do I assume that someone's doing the timing to let Mr. Singh know when he's near to 5 minutes?
I'll probably be well under 5 minutes, I think, because it's quite small.
Yes, so
Okay.
I can keep time as well.
Thanks very much.
give it time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Off you go.
So, as you know, the petition was, to read it word for word, we, the undersigned petition in Hillingdon Council, put in place the following safety measures to calm speeding drivers on Nestles Avenue, implementation of a 20-mile-per-hour zone, installation of speed bumps. Justification was drivers speeding up to 50 miles per hour along Nestles Avenue has increased risk of injury or death for pedestrians and homeowners. The lack of traffic calming measures also encourages aggressive tailgating, leading to emotional distress for local homeowners. Noise pollution is also a huge concern, with drivers of performance vehicles using the road to speed test their cars. Implementing a 20-mile-per-hour zone is essential to improve safety and maintain quality of life for local residents. That was a petition. The four key issues I see as: issue one, people coming out of drives. When we park in a drive, to reverse into a drive is impractical and dangerous, so we indicate and park into the drive. So reversing out of drives can be quite dangerous with people speeding. And we've had issues, my wife's had issues coming out, cars speeding and then sort of horning and so on, because you have to creep out of the drive. And then when there's cars parked on either side, it makes it even more difficult. So someone who's going too fast could find it difficult to stop in time if they're sort of going beyond a certain speed. Second issue is aggressive tailgating. I've experienced that myself. If you're doing 20, 22, 23 miles an hour, I've experienced, and others on the road have experienced through conversations I've learned, of people aggressively tailgating, literally touching the bumper in order to push you along. Third issue is attempting to overtake. I've experienced this myself. People have actually tried to overtake while going down Nestles Avenue. From the top of Station Road into Harold Avenue, which is the first turning out of Nestles Avenue, is 500 meters. So in that small distance, some cars actually try and overtake you. And that leads me to the fourth issue, which is, and I've experienced this myself as well, is verbal abuse. People will then use verbal abuse if you're going too slow, or if you pull to one side. In my case, I actually pulled over to one side and the driver proceeded to swear at me. So that's the four key issues that I've experienced, my family have experienced, other people on the road have experienced, and visitors to people living on the road have experienced. We sort of chat amongst each other quite a lot, and there was quite a strong feeling in terms of the 20-mile-per-hour zone, and hence the petition was created. From the top of Station Road to Harold Avenue, which is the first turning right, is a shortcut to avoid the lights at the top of Station Road, just as you're going to the Asda corner. So people often turn in, and because they're using the shortcut, they are going very fast to get to the other side and come out and beat all the traffic. So that happens both ways. I think the council tried to stop that happening coming out of Nestles Avenue into Station Road by putting a right turn sign there, no right turn. That gets pretty much ignored, and I've seen many cars come speeding out of there doing the right turn because they're doing the school run, they're doing the station run, and vice versa when they're going back home the same way. So it just encourages that kind of sort of madness where someone's in a rush and they're using that as a shortcut. That's pretty much it. We do have some performance car issues. People use the 800 meters length of the road to speed up and down with the performance cars to trial them out. And we haven't been able to capture evidence because we've not been quick enough, unfortunately. But if we could, we would try and do that. That pretty much sums it up, really. So we think a 20-mile-per-hour zone is definitely called for on the road and would help. There's a nursery at the top of the road for, I'm not sure of the age group. I went and spoke to them and they thought it was a very good idea, and especially with the kids, mothers coming there to drop the kids or pick them up on the corner. That would be a good idea to have a 20 miles per hour zone. And that's it. That's pretty much all I've got to say.
All right, thank you very much. Do you know the name of that nursery?
I don't actually. I can look it up while we're.
Don't worry. We can look it up. We can look it up. All right. That's very helpful. There's some really very good highlights there and points that we can look at and take away. All right. I'll hear from Councillor Oswald.
Can I quickly raise one concern? Sorry,
Yeah,
one more thing. It's regarding the response. I know you've recommended that you will look at measuring the speed of vehicles over some period in the near future. Obviously, during the lockdown, the speeding issue has decreased somewhat because we don't have the school run, we don't have the station run, and there's a number of other issues, another sort of due to the lockdown, lack of traffic. So that has decreased. But once we get back to normal life, so when you carry out your measurement process, you may not see the speed levels or the frequency that we were seeing pre-lockdown.
Yeah, we get that in a lot of areas because of lockdown, and it may be, I don't know, but it may be that as time goes on, people stick to, or at least if they don't stick to their work, has learnt better ways of working, so that travel isn't going to be a part of many people's work, that they'll be able to work from home even more, sort of thing. But we take that on board very much, and we'll take that into account when we're looking at ways of assessing what's going on here. All right, Councillor Oswald, if you'd like to present, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, difficult, isn't it? I'll try very hard not to repeat anything that the lead petitioners said, but I'm going to have to touch on one thing anyway, because we have some problems in Botwell and in Pinkwell with street races. Pinkwell is a neighbouring ward. I'm sure Janet Gardner, Councillor Gardner, can excuse me, give you chapter and verse, because these cars are flying past her house. Now, if you look at Nestles Avenue as a whole, it's a long straight road from Station Road right down to Harold Avenue. And it's actually quite wide. There's parking on one side down as far as, I can't remember, I think it might be as far as Harold Avenue, but there's no parking on the other side. So that's opened the whole road up, and it's straight and it's wide enough for two cars to pass each other going in opposite directions. And the lead petitioner's right. I've seen a car being overtaken down there going in the same direction, and that really is out of order. Because there's another road before Harold Avenue, and anything could come turning out of there and you've got a head-on accident. So I think the best thing to do is to visit the road, obviously, have a look at it and see what we may be able to do. Now, as far as the performance cars are concerned, these are the street racers. These are not kids. These are adults where their brains haven't properly matured, I'm sure. And as far as a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit is concerned, that's difficult to police. Yeah, put it in by all means. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but it's difficult to police it. Now, the petitioner was right about, I'm not sure about if he's obviously right about the 500 metres from Station Road down to Harold Avenue, but that is long enough on a straight road to tempt someone with a performance car, basically a chairman, to put his foot down and go as quickly as possible before he gets to Harold Avenue and turns out onto Northside Road. Can't go any further because it's a block end. And that was all done because of the realignment of Northside Gardens, which I was involved in the mid-90s. And also the no right turn sign at the top of Nestles Avenue, where it meets Station Road, that was put in. That had something to do with the building of the Hayes bypass and the closure of Hayes Town, or the pedestrianisation. I can't remember the detail, Chairman, but I'm not sure whether that's redundant or not now, but because the town's been opened, it would be appropriate now for that no right turn sign to stay in place. And the petitioner was right. Cars do turn right out of the top of Nestles Avenue. That causes problems as well. But anyway, there's a scheme in Northside Road, Chairman, where some years ago, when Jack Webster was the transport man to go to, he was a really good officer, and he came up with some good schemes at different times across the borough. And he had one for Northside Road because we had similar problems.
Sorry to interrupt, that's the 3 minutes up.
Oh, is that all I've got?
Apologies.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had unlimited time. Okay, thank you very much.
Councillors have 3 minutes and the lead petitioner has 5, but we take on board everything you said, Councillor Oswald. Thank you very much. All right, so I've been to the road and had a good look around, and I take on board everything that everybody has said, because it's clear. I mean, I must confess, I don't say that there were massive speeds at the time that we were down there, but nevertheless, I very much get the idea of what you're all talking about. We've got some maps that I'd quite like to show you in the time we've got available, and just to sort of highlight to everybody what we've got. I think Ryan's able to put those on our screens. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'll present those now.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, I think Councillor Farley raised a hand as well.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, I'll come to Councillor Farley in a moment. Yeah, in a minute. Okay.
So do you want to go to the maps now, or would you go to Councillor Farley first?
Let's go
to the maps first. Okay.
Okay. So this is the map of the area. David, do you want to take us through what these various dots and so forth mean?
Yes. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity. The plan, which I don't know whether, Ryan, you can zoom it in a little bit more. Obviously, it's got a lot of small stuff on there. Some very good points that have been made by everybody tonight. That the turning at the top end, as Councillor Oswald quite rightly says, that dates back to around the time of the Hayes bypass and the pedestrianisation, and it was put in at the time to deal with a rat running problem between Bullsbridge roundabout and the town centre. And I take the point about people ignoring that turn. If you move the thing slightly to one side, Ryan, you might be able to see there's a picture of that junction actually on the map. One of the things we will be looking at, and I think it's very useful to have what you've told us this evening, is the possibility of camera enforcement at that junction. I think it would be very beneficial. Clearly, if there is a big problem with people ignoring the signs, and I have actually heard anecdotally that amongst the people that have been seen doing it were some of the people on mopeds that do some of the enforcement. So there is a certain irony in that, but. So yeah, that little picture at the bottom left there, you can just about see the no right turn sign. So I think that's something that we need to perhaps look at, because if people are tempted to use this road as a cut through to the town centre, and Harold Avenue, which is in the middle of the plan, is the one road that does link all the way through from North Hyde Road to Nestles Avenue. Again, as Mr. Singh quite rightly said, it is a very straight road. It's a wide road. On that plan, you'll see that there's no access at the North Hyde Gardens end, so there's no reason for anybody to go going through there. But because they do have that long straight section, they are able to speed if they're so inclined. I suppose one thing that it's worth perhaps just bringing up to people's attention is the fact that obviously the site to the north there, which is the Nestles factory, is going through the process of redevelopment, and there's a lot of change that's going to be happening. There are a number of developers that are coming in and putting forward proposals, and it so happens that my colleague Sophie, who's also on the call, is working at the moment with consultants to try and see what we can do in terms of provision in Nestles Avenue. So actually, this petition being heard tonight, with all the testimony from Mr. Singh and the ward councillors, is a golden opportunity to actually get some influence into what we may be able to do. In terms of the surveys, and Mr. Singh also made a good point about the fact that we're in the pandemic, so traffic levels are a lot lower than they otherwise would be. Well, we will use the common sense approach of doing those surveys when we think things are relatively normal in terms of traffic levels. But because we're already doing some study work in conjunction with the developers, I think it would be fair to say that we can take on board some of the suggestions that we hear tonight as part of that study, and then in the fullness of time, that will be discussed initially with yourself, Councillor Riley, and the ward councillors, and we'll take it from there. Councillor Gardner. I defer to you, Chair.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I think Councillor Farley had a hand raised. earlier.
Yeah.
Councillor Farley,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Yeah, I essentially wanted to back up precisely what the lead petitioner has been saying. I have, as we do as councillors, we drive around the ward regularly, weekly. Tailgating has happened to me on Nestles Avenue. Overtaking has happened to me on Nestles Avenue. The no right turn is ignored with abandon. I mean, I've stationed myself parked up next to the Nestles Children's Centre there at the junction, and watched innumerable numbers. I've raised this as an issue with officers several times about this junction. And if people are ignoring their junction, they're not exactly going to obey a 20-mile-an-hour sign. So if there can be some measure to reduce the speeding, if that's speed bumps or whatever it may be, I would be in favour of that, because I witnessed it. I've experienced everything that the petitioner has said, and the new development, is going to increase traffic levels down the road. So I would echo pretty much everything that's been said, and I say I have first-hand experience of the activities of drivers that just do not obey the rules and just go mad.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Gardner.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything the petitioner said, but also I'm coming from the perspective of the racing cars, because North Hyde Road goes on to the Bournes Bridge into Dawley Road. I live on Dawley Road. Now, they will do a circuit. Now, the circuit, I'm reliably informed by somebody who lives in Blackwell Close, which is on the map. They come straight through the traffic lights by Asda. They go right the way down at North Hyde Road, and then they swing a left down Harold Avenue, and then drive up Nestles Avenue, and they will do a right turn, irrespective, and then they go off and they go down Blythe Road. So it is actually part of a circuit. You know, I mean, as I say, these are, they also park up in the Vita Close, some of them. So I assume that the petitioners would know about that. But it's the danger, especially for Nestles Avenue residents, because it's, in actual fact, it's not as wide as Dawley Road. That's all right. I want to say.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, look, clearly we need to do something about the to mitigate speed, and also to get things much better along Nestles Road. And certainly I'm very much in favour of picking up on any and combinations of mitigations and different ways of dealing with that. We do need to be a bit careful in one sense. I understand what Councillor Farley was saying, but the trouble with speed mitigation usually means it's some sort of physical thing, and that creates noise, and that doesn't sit well with residents who live on the street where the mitigation is. As Mr. Knowles said, it's quite a good, well, it's a very good opportunity at the moment, because there's a lot of work going on. Our colleague Sophie is doing a great deal of work along Nestles Avenue with regard to what's going to happen concerning the new development and different ways of dealing with that, including, I understand, a potential bus route, which in one sense may take some of the traffic, or at least some of the journeys, out of the equation. I'm also quite conscious of what the lead petitioner has said and the councillors have said about the pandemic and the likely reduction in the use of vehicles at the moment, but I still want something to be put in place and or ideas to be talked about. So I will, as part of the recommendations, ask officers to conduct 24/7 automated traffic counts, where either soon or when they feel it's more appropriate to get a better idea. But that doesn't, in one sense, doesn't really help with the addition of speeding cars, because from everything that you've said, quite frankly, if they're not going to obey the speed limits as they are now, they're unlikely to obey slower speed limits, but they might respond to physical mitigation. So there may be something that we can do along those lines, without balance that against, obviously, if you do something in a road, it sort of works as far as people using the road and residents are concerned. You can't separate the two out. So we need to find a good balance there. I'll also ask officers to look into a variety of different mitigations and speed reductions, but also I think to collaborate with our enforcement teams, antisocial behaviour teams, because the racing thing, the street races, is very much, it seems to me, an antisocial behaviour and police thing. So we need to get that coordinated as well. So as part of my recommendations, I'll ask officers to coordinate with other colleagues to see if there's a sort of joint programme. But as I say, it's a good opportunity at this early stage to feed into the general programme of what's going on Nestles Avenue, because we can feed that into the other actions that Sophie has already started looking into. So that's what I will recommend, and those things will be done and then followed up, and we'll come back to ward councillors and the lead petitioner as far as progress in the near future is concerned. Good. All right. Well, I think we've got unless there's anything else, that's what we'll do. Those are my various recommendations and decisions. And thank you all very much for attending.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, if everyone would just kindly mute for a moment, I'll end the live stream. Thank you.
Good night all.